In this video, I'm going to take you through an entire day of my live trading so you can see inside my process, my strategy, the indicators that I use, as well as the specific trade entries, exits, and the real profit and losses that come from me taking these trade decisions in real time and basically explaining my thought process to you. I've been day trading for over 8 years, and these live trade videos are a series that I like to do every 2 weeks to basically keep you guys on YouTube up to date with how I'm trading and a little bit of an insight of what we're working on our team. Because it's amazing to see our private team winning, but I always want to make sure that I'm providing value to you guys on YouTube. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Okay, I'm coming off a losing day yesterday, which I also filmed. I'm going to put that in a card at the end of this video. So now the pressure's on for me to have a good trading day. So I'm going to be risking $1,000 per trade. And if all goes to plan, I should be able to make over $7,000 in profit. But between you and me, my goal is more like $15,000 today. So let's see if we can make it happen. We got a few minutes before the 9:30 open. I'm going to show you how I get my desk set up, and then we're going to get into finding trade number one. All right, so before I'm taking any trades, here's how I set up my trade station. Here's TradingView. This is where I'm going to be doing all the analysis for my trades. Here's where I'm actually going to be executing all of the positions. This is where I'm going to be tracking our trade data so we can see how we're stacking up over the course of the day, track our metrics. You can't improve what you don't measure. This is how we're going to be measuring. Over here on my other monitor, I have a higher time frame chart, which allows me to do analysis on the major pairs. Considering I'm trading crypto, I'm going to be doing analysis on Bitcoin. And we can see this morning, this is on a daily chart. This multi-month trend has just broken down, and if we go down to a 4-minute time frame, you can see price has actually broken through here, come up, tested this fair value gap, this underside resistance, and is now continuing to trail down. So this is probably going to play down to 107, 105 over the next, say, week or so, is what I'm assuming and what the analysis is showing me. So what I'm going to do is play into that thesis and be bearish on the day. I'm going to be open to taking trades in any direction, but if we have a bearish trade, meaning the trade is going to continue going down, I'm really going to lean into that, try to hold that, see if we can get these big runners. That being said, we are about to hit 9:30, and we did. What I'm doing is basically looking for areas where we get trend developments and then breaks, and then areas where the price is going to come up and retest that trend level into what are called fair value gaps. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that is as we're taking these trades. But basically, they're these areas that are annotated on my chart, which are pockets where price tends to trail into before making a continuation move into a direction. And you're going to see how that sort of works here in a second. Okay, that's only one of a ton of things I'm looking for when I'm actually entering a trade. I use a lot of confluences in data that I can't share on the YouTube side in order to be fair to the private team, but just know this is more to showcase what I'm doing, give you the gist of my thought process, and show you some of what I use to be able to make these decisions and actually execute these trades. All right, but market just opened. Let's get into finding trade number one. All right, so getting into looking for trade number one, what I'm noticing here is that we're breaking down underneath these critical swing points for the session right out of the open, and we're getting some momentum. And this big actionable candle that broke underneath this trend level left behind this area into this support turned resistance. So if price wants to come up and retest that area, my other confluences are all lined up. This is an extremely tight stop loss, but I'm going to be looking to see if we can get a retest here and get an entry on trade number one. Otherwise, we're going to continue to play the short bias. Let's see if price can come up here. All right, trade number one lost. First trade of the day. So we got a loss here locked in the morning. All right, so now we got a big push up and a rejection off of dropping lows today. So what I'm going to do is try to target and set up a position for a retest and a continuation in this direction here. So now I'm waiting for this really, really important area to be retested here. And hopefully we're going to get a nice push and continuation if we want to run for a portion of the day. So yeah, I think it's important to remember I'm looking at the daily bias. Like if that wanted to come up and retest and then drop for the whole session, that's great. But honestly, we have space to be able to move up as well. So I'm not going to hold too strong to the bias here. I'm going to be playing off technicals. Okay, we have a divergence here on my RSI too. If you look, price is higher here, lower here, lower price here, higher here in the RSI, which is indicating what's called a divergence in the relative strength, which means the price could potentially push up and have a macro change. So I'm hoping to be able to get in on this test area. This is an inverse fair value gap as well into support level here. So this is a really, really high potency area. All right, I'm not going to speak too soon, but we are getting a good response off of that area. So stop loss wasn't triggered. We got support off of this overside, and now we're starting to come back up to retest this area. This is where I'm going to be watching to take some size off of my position. If we get it close here, I'm taking half off. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is when I double my risk, I'm going to be locking in half the position. That way I can minimize my downside here because I'm into a losing streak. I've effectively lost like 8 trades in a row over the past 2 days. So I'm trying to hedge my downside. And so hopefully I can reduce risk here as soon as possible. So it looks like we have a good technical response, but here's the thing. When we're day trading off of technicals, we really need to understand the market's going to play out in basically any direction it's going to choose. Our job as traders is to pick good technical areas where if the market is going to get bullish from here, we're in at an amazing entry. Now we're losing some momentum here, which we can't tell what's going to happen, whether it will break lows or not, but we can tell that was a high impact area that we could be entering in on if it is going to shift in our direction. So once again, opportunity cost, as long as we're following our strategy, even if this trade comes down and loses, which it looks like it may, that's still not a bad trade idea, and we have to be able to stick to our ideas. Yeah, so locked in a contained loss here, and the losing streak continues, guys. You can see this is the past 9 trades so far that we've taken. We've had 1 win, a break even, and then we've had 1, 2, 3, 7 losses basically. We did have a $3,800 win in there. I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. It's only a matter of time before we get a nice trade and then have a runner. So all I'm doing, like I said, is following my process, staying locked in, and we're gonna be good to go. What I'm noticing now is that we're basically getting a whiplash reversal on the day, and we do have a high impact news event here at 2 p.m. So markets are going to be turbulent, and it looks like we could get some momentum off of this level. So as soon as we broke over this high with strength into this area, it got in a little bit late. So I have my position set up here and just looking to see if we can get a play in a continuation. So we're starting to get a really nice move up here. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in half of the position. So now if this wants to fail off of this level and come back down, we've already locked in 2100, which is basically 2 risk factors on the day. I'm going to let the rest run and sort of trail this up now. So getting a nice push and continuation. What I want to do is try to play this to the previous day high potentially and just continue to trend follow what I'm sort of working on right now. We're up 35 floating. We already locked in 21. So that's 5,700 total on the entire position. I basically moved my stop loss into profit to lock in this amount to let the rest of this sort of run and continue moving in my direction. Trade looking good so far. So hopefully this pays off even more so and should be good. All right, I think it's time to leave this trade. So I'm going to walk my stop loss up underneath this level, and I am fully out of the trade. All right, and all said and done after that trade here, even though I probably could have let it run to previous day high, I was able to make 57.81 on this trade, long on ETH, which is going to put us up on the day 2,800. Over the past 2 days, I'm net positive about $400, which is annoying because it's a lot of work, but that's kind of the name of the game of trading. So I've kind of cleaned up my mess here, and even with a 20% win rate, I'm up $422. Now, if I just have 1 or 2 more winners on the day today, then my average will be back lifted up and we'll be in good shape. So that's what we're going to look to do. I'm going to try to play maybe a reversal off of this area now if we can get a push in the up direction and see if we can make our way down. But I'm going to eat some lunch right now, get some other work done, and we'll see if we can take trade number 4. All right, so starting to get some weakness here on Ethereum. We're also coming up on the FOMC meeting, which should be happening in 45 minutes here. So if we can get into a trade before that and then play into the volatility, I'm all for it. So if we can get a push up here, I have my sell signal appearing on my chart here into this fair value gap. We had a change of character to the upside, flipped it. So it's basically an inverse fair value gap here off of this area. So looking to get short here. We haven't really gotten any downward price action. So when it does happen, this is going to be very, very fast and probably strong as well. So would love to be in a position like that into the afternoon. Now I'm basically waiting to see if we can get a drop here on Ethereum leading up to the FOMC meeting that's coming up in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to keep the timer open here. I'm going to get some work in and sort of let this chart sort of hang out. And we're going to see if we can get a big push down during FOMC. So whenever I'm shorting the front side of a move, obviously we're not getting confirmation that a new low on the trend has broken down. So it's a little bit riskier that price will continue to move up. A little annoying as well, because we had our other position here where we were targeting previous day high, which is where we just ended up going. So if we had a little bit more patience, we could have just extracted more risk factors instead of taking another loss and getting out early. We did end up having another loss, $1,237, which brings us down to $1,600 net on the day. I'm gonna step away from the charts a bit, stretch my legs. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now. All we really need is like 1 or 2 good trades into the afternoon. So we have plenty of time to pull this off and sort of pull our session together, which I'm hoping for. Goal is to find a really big trade, let it run throughout the day. I think we're gonna find it, but I'm gonna let the markets cool off, step away, reset my mind, come at it again to find trade number 5. All right, so after stepping away for a bit, I have a new idea here on Ethereum. We just got into a trade actually. I was waiting for this trend level to sort of break down. This was a good trade opportunity, but kind of took off without us here. So once we got a push up in a response off of the underside of this trend, this is where I felt confident coming into this resistance point up here, right into here, to get into this failed level at the midpoint. Nice tight stop loss over these highs in this consolidation zone here and try to play a quick flip to the downside. So before I head off to the gym, I'm going to continue to monitor this trade. I'm going to do a nice spa day at the gym. Hopefully this trade can move nicely in our direction and put us up a couple thousand. I just want to be able to make like $5,000 to $7,000. Feel good that I made a couple $1,000s per day and then be able to go to the gym and relax. Hopefully we do see some signs of weakness here, but we're going to watch this trade and see what happens. All right, so on this trade, I wanted to let it breathe a little bit over this area. So I did actually luckily walk my stop loss and give it a little bit area to breathe. Now we're starting to move in our direction here. We're up about 2,000, looking for this low to break. And then I'm just going to be playing down to probably this area, looking for a 1 to 5, 1 to 6. So I'm going to take some risk off the table here in a second if I can get a break of structure underneath this low, and then we will trail the rest of the position. All right, so I might have an idea here on Solana to take a short position. What I'm sort of seeing here is eventually I'm going to snipe the end of this trend. I've been trying to find this area for some time, but I haven't quite nailed it. Solana, since the beginning of the session, has been putting in lows here along this trend level. We did get a push down here with a pretty substantial candle to break underneath that level. And here is a previous resistance zone right at this point. So I went ahead and put an order in here, sort of using these candles as a shield to see if we can come into here and then continue and make a low. I want to keep my stop loss pretty tight here. Hopefully I'm able to get a push up and a flip. This could be 6 risk factors that could happen realistically within maybe an hour or 2. So that would be a really good trade for the day to get. Hopefully we can get, you know, between $4,000 and $6,000 more locked in if we can get filled on this trade. So hoping we can get a push up now. Otherwise we'll find a new idea. So in this trade, we got our initial push down here, starting to come up a little bit, but I'm going to walk my stop loss down to my break even point here, because basically what I'm looking for is to trend follow this trend. So if I can get a push up, you can see right here, I have my break of structure. That's showing me that I want to play into this downtrend. If we are to produce a new high over here, then that's terminating the trend. So basically I can walk my stop loss comfortably into there. And now hopefully we get a bigger push down. In the meantime, I'm going to hit a workout. Hopefully this runs as we're at the gym, and we'll check in a little bit. All right, time to hit a quick leg workout. All right, so I just finished up the workout and I'm looking at the trade. Came up, tagged us out for break even, and then ripped to the upside. So good news is we brought our stop loss to break even, so literally didn't do any damage. Lots of volatility in the market right now. So I'm gonna go back, clean up a bit, then we're gonna see if we can find another opportunity in all of this volatility. But it's good, we're keeping our risk contained. Now we just need to keep ourselves open to be able to have a big runner. Gonna wrap up this workout, and then we're gonna find the next trade. All right, so I think I have a good idea on Solana, and I think this is going to play out. Right now, we've had basically a whole day run up of this trend off of this low area here. So what I've done is basically taken a parallel channel from this point to this point, and then this point, and prices now just run up exactly to contact that outer point at this support, flipped to resistance level, and now we're starting to wick in reverse in the opposite direction. If I go into a 30-minute time frame, so now I'm doing multi-time frame analysis, what I've noticed is we have a development of a wave structure with 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5. And you notice this 5 wave hit off of our Fibonacci projection here at 361.8. 261.8 is hitting the high of 3. And this wick area down here is coming into 61.8. So if I go into a 5-minute time frame, you'll notice price is just teetering off of this area about to break and basically inverse this fair value gap. Now, under this level here, technically I'm going to consider it a change of character, but this could very well be the high of 5 before we get a retracement of this whole move down to at least the 50 wave. And if I can snipe an entry in here, if and when this sort of falls off, this can be my trade into the evening. So now all I'm really doing is waiting to see when this trend is going to sort of break down, and then I'm going to try to find an entry on that. It looks like it could happen any second, so I want to get sort of ready for this, and then I'll be ready to try to snipe an entry on this. So I'm kind of getting my position. I'm going to put a position sizer here, which, by the way, if you want access to this, you can follow me on Instagram and DM me the word tools, and it's going to be included in here. I can basically put my dollar amount risk, click, and that's going to give me my unit size that I need to go in with. Okay, so like I said, I'm not really setting anything in particular up yet. What I want to see is a candle that definitively breaks down on this trend, because if we hold this, I'm not going to get short. I want to really see this area be crested. If we get a nice break, it could be a big move. All right, so we're in on this trade, and I accidentally got a decent amount more risk than I was hoping to put on this trade. So at this point, I'm willing to basically cut my stop loss a little bit early, but hopefully play into my conviction with this macro idea, which normally I'm not going to do. It's not like I'm risking a crazy amount, but I'm risking definitely more than one risk factor. All right, so a lot just happened with this chart. Originally, we had a short position here, which looked like it could start to materialize, and then price just came up and tagged us out for break even. So after all said and done, we lost 162 with fees, but we kept that risk sort of contained. So I consider that a break even trade. Fast forward, we actually had price come up into the top channel here. I realized I was drawing my channel incorrectly. I'm not really sure how that happened, but on second look, it looks like price came up perfectly to hit that area. So this is really the blow off top we could potentially see here. And so looking at this trend level that we broke underneath, and now we're coming back to test into on the underside part of this trend into this fair value gap. I have an order input here to sort of play into this blow off top capitulation into a fair value gap underneath this previous trend that was support turned, hopefully resistance into our position. So I'm hoping that we come up, get filled back into the midpoint. We can take a dump off of here and continue moving down. All right, so last night I had to put a stop to my trading and just sort of check out for the day. Now it's Thursday morning. I'm going to go in and see if I can have one big trade to see where I can put myself so I can sort of finish off strong. So I'm going to hopefully find one more trade here in the session. I'm just going to look for a quality setup, take one more trade. If things don't work out, I'm basically going to have to end the video. Either way, it's going to be important, but I think price action is better today, so I should be able to find a nice trade to cap things off. I just finished up a Discord stream with everyone. It's about lunchtime, so I'm going to try to find a trade and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I have my first idea here on Solana. A little bit later in the session, there were some really good setups here, but I got up a little bit late. I was exhausted. What I'm looking at is basically this current trend here. We failed to break out of it here, here, and here. We have this level that could break down and get momentum to the downside. And what we have is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave development. The only thing is this 5 wave isn't stacking up. Basically, if I create my factor of 1 here, you'll notice this 160.18 should be the end of the trend, which means that the 5 wave should continue to extend either to 260.18 or 360.18. So coming into this gap in here and resistance on this trend, unless price is to break out and make a new high, that's the only way that this trend is going to continue to make a higher move, or should. There's a high chance that we do break underneath this low level here, in which case we could get a little bit of momentum, reduce the risk on the trade, and then we should be in good shape. So I'm hoping that we're able to get a push down now through this level. If we do, it should happen quick, and then hopefully that's the trade that we need. Okay, so we're starting to get our move down. We're up about 2,000. I'm hoping that this is going to be good news. I'm going to go ahead and reduce my risk down to break even here so that we can take a risk-free trade. Let's see. Okay, so coming back, we're starting to break out of this downtrend here. I was able to lock in almost 2 risk factors, actually a little bit more. I was able to capture 28.57 after all said and done. Looks like we're starting to break out of this trend level. So we're up almost 4,000 over these 2 days. I really want to finish strong and sort of maybe potentially be able to take a trade off of this trend break, depending on how we see it develop, if there's an opportunity there. Obviously, I was hoping that this would come down and tag my take profit, which would have been more like $5,000, $6,000 in profit. So I'm going to go ahead and log this trade, eat breakfast, and then I'm going to see if I can sneak one one more in here and see what we end up with. Okay, so looking at the charts here, I was trying to just evaluate where the session was going, and from looking at it, we basically have our Elliott wave structure here, and then we had our A, B, C wave. We're getting this wave that's kind of broke out of this trend to push up higher here and then give us a retracement back down into B. And so what I did is I was trying to target this gap in here right with my 61.8 level. You can see that's where price rejected off of, and I was a little late to my entry, but I'm in now. A little bit unorthodox of a trade, but now I'm basically seeing if we can break out of this trend level and hold, and it looks like we are getting some momentum. So this may actually be a low point of the day before we start breaking up higher and sort of complete the rest of this C wave. So I'm probably just going to take this and try to target this overall 50 level of my trend here if we can get a nice big push up. So I'm going to see what happens with this trade here. We're up 2,300 so far. Once we crest over this level, I'm going to be reducing my risk, and then we're going to be playing off of this new trend level. I'm really ready for this trading session to be over though. I need to take a break after this. At this point, I really don't want to continue trading. I'm just going to trail my stop loss up off of this sort of impulse here. And if we get any sort of pullback down, I'm just going to take the trade off table. So I'm kind of just trailing this. We're up 4,000 now. Pushing 5K almost. There we go, 5K. All right, so I was just sort of watching this really closely, just trying to extract as much of the momentum out of this trend as I could without getting a pullback. So I ended up getting 45.85 out of the trade, all said and done. So it's about 4.5 risk factors up here. Now we're pushing highs again. I need to be done trading for the day. This has been a ridiculous session, but I'm happy that we were able to snag that towards the end. So I'm going to put all this together, and then we're going to look at the data and see how much I was able to make. All right, so let's go trade by trade. First trade I took was a short position on Solana. This one was a loss, basically right out of New York. You can see this gray area was the end of New York. I was looking to target this area right into here. You can see this was a critical area. Price got too strong, flipped it, and would have been a good thesis, but we ended up losing 1,400 on that trade. Once we got some strength into that area, I was thinking we could trend up for the day with this actionable fair value gap here. So I took a long in here. We got a little bit of momentum off of there, ended up failing. That was a $1,453 loss. Now, these are one risk factor, but I'm losing with fees and slippage and everything. So this is truly what I'm actually losing on the trade. So later in the session, we ended up getting that momentum that I was looking for right here, continued trading up for the day. So I was watching this trend level, finally broke it, chose my select area, price ended up coming back down. Next trade, once we started getting momentum on the day, I wanted to sort of play into that. So I was identifying that this area was responded off a ton. Once we broke out through it and I saw that momentum for the day, I hopped into this trade here. You can see this was a perfect entry up. We got a flip, and then up here in this area, I started reducing my risk and I ended up getting stopped out. Next trade, once we got that momentum, I was noticing this area was important. We broke it, came back down to test it. Perfect entry in, continued moving up. On this trade, I closed out over 5 grand, almost 6 grand worth of profit, which was really good, especially after losing so much. After this trend break and a short signal, I tried to take a short into here. I was almost able to reduce risk here and then ended up not. Price pushed up and stopped me out. That was for a $1,200 loss. Took a later in the day trade entry here off of this resistance area. Once price pushed up, broke down from this trend, I reduced risk. Price came out to tag me out for break even. Next trade, I was sort of waiting for this trend level to break. You can see that's where I got my entry. Price came down, I reduced my risk. Another break even trade on that one. Fast forward to today, I was sort of playing out this Elliott wave here. So I was hoping I'd get a full extension down to this 261.8 area, but I was able to lock in 2,860 on this trade. Once we did get this trend break in an ABC confirmation, you'll see what I did is I took a fib from this level up to this push, and price came down. You can kind of not see it too well, to 61.8. Once I saw a response off of that area, I decided to get long here at the bottom of that B wave, and we had the C wave push all the way up, which got me 4.5 risk factors. On this trade, I was able to close out with $4,585. So just today, I was able to make almost like $8,000 in profit. And if we look at the past 3 days of trading, I had a 25% win rate. We had 4 break evens, 8 losses, and 4 wins. Okay, and you can see all of these are losses in here, but just by keeping the risk contained, making sure I didn't blow up, revenge trade, and just followed good trades. Yes, it took me way too much time and it was miserable, but after 3 days, even with bad trading, be able to come out with $6,100 in profit. In the past session since we started this video was $8,500 in profit. Follow system, keep poise, set rules for yourself, and this is sort of how I navigate the trading. If you're still here, make sure you hit the like button on the video. If you want access to the tools, follow me on Instagram, DM me the word tools, and I'll send you over everything that I use for my charts so you guys can get started if you want. If you want to watch other videos of me doing it, it's right here. If you want to check out our private trading team, I'll put a link right here. And until next time, I'll see you all in the next video.